I mean, the angle. Well, Al, there it is. It's up higher.
Right to here.
That's some intense rainbow action going on there.
It is, same. I was looking a lot shorter.
Wow.
Nate, are you getting a picture of that?
Yeah, I am.
Then over here, it's just clear.
God is amazing. That is
Well,
amazing.
my arc was a lot lower. That's why I was looking over there.
That's so
I
bright.
would look at the arc
camera's
the Lord told us to look at.
Almost picking it up, but it's just so bright in real life. Whew. Wow, well maybe God's not done doing the rainbow stuff, Rick.
Whoa, look at that.
We saw a glimpse of it up at Rainbow,
Right.
but wow, double rainbow. Did we see a double rainbow that time, or was it just one rainbow?
One giant one.
Wow. So, for us to see this rainbow on the very day we're praying over the land, that's kind of
Did
cool.
you take a picture when you sent it to me?
Yeah, I'll send you some photos.
Yeah.
I just, wow. Oh my gosh, it's getting brighter. Wow. You guys, I think Rick, you know what I think I'm kind of getting? And this even goes along with my dream. In the dream, the rainbow was lightning. There's a lot of lightning flashes going on in the orbs. And Robert said to me, he said, you literally saw the throne of God in that dream. You were kind of seeing the throne of God. And with that, when we were down there a little ways, I prayed for the 4 cherubim to come on this property. And the 4 cherubim, they were on the 4 sides of the throne. But the throne of God had the rainbow going over it. Remember in the scriptures, it talks about the rainbow going over the top of God when he sits on the throne. Wow. Julie, you wouldn't believe what we prayed when we were down there.
Yeah.
I felt led to pray because we were praying for God to bring the angels.
Right.
But then I got this whole thing with the 4 faces of God, and I'm like, what? Doesn't one of the angels have like the 4 faces? And it's the cherubim. And we looked up in Ezekiel. And so I prayed for God to put the cherubim on each corner.
Right.
For protection. And so I read some Ezekiel chapter 10 when it talks about the 4 cherubim that guard the throne of God.
1.
Well, 1 and 10. Like
10.
in both chapters it talks about. But the thing is in chapter 1 and chapter 10, God he sits on the throne with the 4 cherubim on the four sides, but it talks about the rainbow over his head. God, when he sits on the throne, there's a rainbow right over his head on the throne. And so we prayed for the 4 cherubim today, and then this big rainbow shows up. And so that's just really, to me, I keep hearing the mountain of the Lord. I keep hearing that.
Right.
And so I feel like this kind of is like, kind of like a place where God, he's establishing his dominion on this thing. And Earl Dixon, before we even said any of that, Earl's like, oh, look at the back of Rick's shirt. Rick, get over here. See that? The scales?
Yeah.
And it says the foundation of the Lord's holy hill is like the scales of justice. So the foundation is justice and mercy.
You know the foundation stone of heaven is jasper?
Whoa! That was in my dream. Jasper.
And this is, so I love it because I have to read the Bible. And in the Bible, jasper is clear.
No, you're right. The foundation stone is jasper.
Of heaven.
And you were there for that dream when I said the only thing I'm getting is jasper. And then, the reason I shared that dream is because you were looking right at me. You were looking right at me and you're like, Nate, you're not going to go up there, right? And I was like, whoa. I was like, Lord, you're kind of speaking to me through Julie right now not to go up there, because in the dream they were passing out this red liquid and it got me a buzz. I knew I shouldn't be drinking it. But the only thing I was getting was jasper. And so I said that to the group. I'm like, I'm getting jasper. And then when you said that to me, it occurred to me right then and there. I was like, well, wait, this is Jasper Mountain. Like, holy cow. Wow. Wow. And so what I got down there when we were praying, I got Obadiah chapter 1. It's only one chapter. And it talks about the curse that happened because of the sins that they did in Obadiah. But then it contrasts it toward the end of the chapter, talking about the mountain of the Lord. And so I felt led to read the whole chapter, and we prayed over some stuff. But I kept getting the mountain of the Lord, mountain of the Lord. And I was like, whoa. I was like, the Lord wants to reestablish this place as kind of like a mountain of the Lord. And then immediately the verse came to me of Psalm, I think 15, where it says, who can go up the mountain of the Lord? Those who, have pure hands, who don't lift up their soul into vanity, just like all these different little things. And so I kept getting this thing about the mountain of the Lord. And when you guys heard your story just now about the story being in the records,
Right.
I kept getting, like, the light has come, and they say to each other, let's go onto the mountain of the Lord, because they're attracted to it. They're attracted to the light.
Yeah.
And they say, yeah, let's go to the mountain of the Lord to, and it says the nations will be attracted to the brightness of your rising.
So what's funny is you guys, Rick might know this, but our lights never go out. And we lose power out here a lot, but since we're off the grid,
Oh.
the kids in Lowell will laugh and they'll tell our oldest daughter, yeah, we were all out of power, but we saw your house. It was
Oh,
all lit up."
wow.
Oh.
Wow.
And we're
That's
always
prophetic.
Yeah.
That is so prophetic.
Yeah.
The very first time you told me that you guys got that electric solar panel
Which we
thing.
didn't care about and we didn't want to do, but the Lord cared.
Yeah.
When we tried not to do it, we would both feel sick.
Whoa.
Like really sick. Like I might get a pain in my shoulder.
Oh,
And
wow.
we'd be like, oh God, we don't want to do it. It was like
They delayed the
$75,000.
golden process like a year for us.
Wow.
Oh, really?
And how much did it cost?
We're not like green people. Like we
How
don't
much that-
like we didn't do it because we're super green.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Lord said, and I'll tell you this. We did a tree job for a guy, and he kept asking me if I was an angel because I just showed up when he needed me. And I said, "Oh, I'm not an angel. I'm not an angel, but I'll always be your friend." And anyways, we went back again to help him. This is after
Big
a snowstorm.
fir tree crushed his
His
house.
house.
Oh, wow.
And I decided to tell him my testimony. So I'm telling him about Jesus and everything, not knowing if he knows about Jesus. And he looks to me at the end, and he goes, "Well, when you told me your testimony, the Lord, the Eternal One, told me that your barn is a church, and your home is an ark,
Oh, wow.
and all the energy for this flows from Montana." He goes, "I wasn't going to tell you that other part about Montana, but that's what he said." And then I looked him up because I'm like, who is this guy? His name was Robert Keir, and I looked him up, and he's famous. He's the most prolific symphony composer of his generation, and all of his work he was asked to compose by Yale on
Wow.
the life of Christ.
Wow.
Every symphony flowed out of the life of Christ.
Oh, really?
And I was like, well, I guess my barn's a church. But I always went to Montana every summer because we wanted to walk with God there. So we would give each other breaks.
Place to unplug. We'll go like in the middle of
Not to have
nowhere, you know?
phones and all that, right? But just to be alone for a while with Jesus. So he'd watch the kids and I could walk,
Really
and I'd watch
off
the
the
kids.
grid there.
And it was always off the grid, but it was symbolic of our
There is no
intimacy.
power out where we were at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our intimacy with Jesus, but also the power with off the grid. I don't know. We're powered by the sun, we say.
Wow. Wow.
S-O-N-Y.
S-O-N-1.
What I got from the whole grid thing the first time I came up here, well, before I heard you guys talk about anything about prophets, even before I shared with you that dream I had, when I was like, as soon as I came up to and I saw this, I just heard eagle's nest. As soon as I saw that, I heard eagle's nest. And then when you guys were kind of talking about how you went off the grid and how expensive it was, I kept hearing the Lord say,
Did you get it?
oh, what did he say? He said something to me about like not being plugged into like the old wineskin. It's like the new wineskin. It's like the new wineskin.
Power,
right.
a new form of power.
Yeah, new form. It's like it's more than just the new wineskin though. It's like he said new wineskin, but he also said, yeah, something about because the power is given by the grid, in the city, and you guys are no longer. It's like the church. You're not being like held back by the old wineskin. Yeah, so it's like the new wineskin thing. Yeah. Well, the unfortunate thing about my dream is the lichen were a bad thing in my dream because it caused the forest to burn down. Because when God sent his fire,
Yeah.
the trees that had all the extra lichen, and so as soon as I grabbed it, I heard the Lord say, he said,
Let go.
it's like a scripture verse. As soon as I grabbed it, he said, what's the verse about like, dishonorable use is what he said. He said dishonorable use. And I was like, whoa, why are you saying that, God? I'm like, it reminds me of a Bible verse. And oh yeah, wood, hay, stubble. Oh yeah, in God's throne or God's house, there's precious stones, gold, silver, and there's wood, hay, stubble. It said, if you cleanse yourself up, you'll be used for honorable use. If you don't clean yourself up, so to speak, you'll be used for dishonorable use. Which the dishonorable use would be kind of like doing the mundane chores. You know, like in Ezekiel, when it talks about the temple, it says the priests of Zadok, they get to be inside for honorable use, but the other priests that were rebellious and didn't really follow the Lord, they're used for like the grunt work. And so the trees that had all the lichen, they are, you know, they're not, but Rick had another analogy for the lichen. It's kind of like something about like, Rick, do you remember how you said that? Like the lichen is also kind of analogous to just secret sin. There we go. Because lichen is kind of hard to see under the branches. It's kind of hidden under the branches. You have to get up under the tree and look straight up to see it. If you look at a tree from a little ways away, oh, that lichen's right under the tree, so it's kind of hard to see it. And so people with their hidden sin, and they never become transparent, they're like a tree that has all this lichen. And when God's fire comes, it burns all that lichen up and it burns the tree. Yeah.
And the torch of the Lord is his presence. And the torch lights things on fire.
Oh, wow.
And so anybody that comes into this mountain here with any presumption,
wow,
it'll be torched. And it'll be ugly for them. So I'm just assured that the refiner's fire will take care in this end time season so this ministry can birth.
Okay, so see, remember how down there at the gate I said I got something but I won't share it yet? What I got, because we were reading out of Obadiah, is there's a lot in there about the mountain and then Zion. And what I was getting is, oh wow, Lord, this property is literally like going up the mountain of the Lord. And what was going through my head was Psalm 15. It says, who can go up the mountain of the Lord? And it says, those with clean hands, those who don't lift up their soul into vanity. Like, there's a lot of these things that you need to get right with God, and you need to kind of walk in integrity and all these things in order to go up the mountain of the Lord. Otherwise that can happen to you. You know, you could.
It says that fire purifies. So many times we have to have things, you know, his fire has to purify things in us.
Yeah, and so the trees in the dream, a lot of trees were feeling the heat, but they weren't getting completely burnt up. But the other trees that had a lot of that lichen, the flames were going right up through the whole thing, and it actually was kind of killing the tree. Like a lot of trees were not making it because they were getting way too hot. But the other trees that didn't have a whole lot of lichen, they were getting a little bit burnt, but they survived. And so the crazy thing about you bringing up that dream, though, Rick, is I also had a dream of this property that I mentioned to you guys on the way up here. I said the enemy was trying to do everything he could to damage the property. And I said he first sent a fire, and it came right up to the edge of the property. And now that I'm seeing that, like, yeah, that would burn. That would burn pretty good, because in the dream I could see how the forest right outside the property really got scorched. Like it was burnt. But the fire came right to the edge of their property in the dream, and it burnt a little bit of the edges, but it didn't destroy their barn, it didn't destroy their home. But the cool thing, though, in the dream, they were safe. They were kind of like, they were rattled because of all the destruction going on around, you know, but their property was safe. And that's the very dream what I said. I prayed on one side of the property, but I didn't tell Julie. And then she happened to say later that, yeah, that side of the property is very peaceful now. So,
Well, if you look around,